on a piece of glass. Might be snakes there in that grass. Grandma's hands. Grandma's hands to the local unwed mother. Grandma's hands used to ache sometimes and swell. Grandma's hands used to lift her face and tell her, she said, baby, Grandma understands that you really love that man. Put yourself in Jesus' hands, Grandma's hands. Grandma's hands used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands pick me up each time I fail. Grandma's hands, boy, they really came in handy. She said, Daddy, don't you whip that boy. What you want to spank him for? He didn't drop no apple core, but I don't have Grandma anymore. And if I get to heaven, I'm looking for my grandma's hands. Yeah, my grandma's hands. Don't you miss your grandma? Yeah. She taught me how to shell beans, make jam. Taught me how to put up peaches for the winter time. She got on my nerves big time. Yeah, the grandma's hands. Love my grandma's hands. Welcome, everyone. Get this one up here. I'll step away so we don't have feedback. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swananoa Valley. My name is Rochelle Broome, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We are a welcoming congregation united on the side of love and justice. We like to say we don't have to think alike to love alike. We strive to walk through this life with open hearts, open minds, and hope that all who walk this earth with us will find the strength and will to walk it with best intent as often as possible. May the time we spend together today in this place make us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, I encourage you to take note of our mission statement, which is printed on the front of your program here, the order of service. We also work together to promote and practice the 8 principles, which are printed on the inside of the order of service. It is our tradition to welcome first and second time visitors, or those of you who haven't been here for a while, to stand if you're comfortable doing so, and introduce yourself and tell us where you are from. Anyone on this side? Please.
I'm Larry Zachnini. I'm from West Virginia. I'm transitioning and mostly living at Earth Haven, neighbors of Jeff and Sue.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Old age plays terrible.
Welcome. Anyone else on this side? How about on this side?
Hi, my name's Allison. I'm here with my mother-in-law Carol that has recently joined you guys.
Yeah.
I don't live here. I live in Wilkes, and I wish I did. I already feel welcomed here.
Welcome. Is there anyone else on this side?
We are sisters who live all the way, a long way away from here in Montreat. We are neighbors of Liz, who's at Spence. They're members here, so she invited us to come today.
Welcome. Welcome this morning. Anyone else? Well, welcome to you all. We're exceedingly glad that you're here with us today. If you're interested in learning more about us or you'd like to receive our newsletter, there's a white card in the back of the pews, and one of those can also be found on the table out in the foyer. So please fill out the card and either place it in the collection plate or leave it on the table in the foyer so that we may get in touch with you. And before we do our Native Peoples acknowledgement, we're going to have a short announcement from our stewardship committee.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dan Hadley. Diane DeGrasse and I joined this congregation in May of 2019, so we're relatively new. Today I want to talk with you about 2 G's: generosity and gratitude. But first, let me note how Diane and I got here. We first visited this congregation in 2016 when we were driving from Florida to our home in Maine. And we stayed at the home of Tina Rosado.
Yes.
Because she had listed her home with UU Home, which is a bed and breakfast directory where UUs offer their home for bed and breakfast and many contribute funds raised by the bed and breakfast to the UU congregation. That's generosity. We were smitten by the atmosphere of this congregation. We had to come back. Today, Diane and I are both active members of the congregation, and I am a member of the stewardship committee and the board of trustees. Now, March, this gray month, is time when we do our annual canvass and seeking financial support for this liberal congregation and to express our gratitude for its welcoming mission. Now, the mission is printed on the front, but I just love it, so I'm going to repeat it. The mission is to nurture spirituality, inspire growth and learning in the search for truth, and challenge us to live our values conscientiously through service and example. We invite all of you to contribute your time, your talents, and your treasure to this endeavor. We are so much more than this Sunday service. We are not a theater. You pay to see a show. We are a congregation that serves this community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 years a week.
Let's hope.
So we encourage contributions to support this effort year-round. This is why we invite all of you, to the extent that you can, to make an annual pledge at this time, this month. This week's current includes information on how you can make a pledge. We are all stewards of this congregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. It's our practice to acknowledge that the land where we are now gathered has not always been ours to call home. UUCSB acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and of other indigenous people. The Cherokee, through stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survived and thrived in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. So now, if you would please silence or completely power down your cell phones so that our service may begin.
For our chalice study this morning, I've chosen words by Sherry Woodbury. The chalice study is entitled Alive in All Creation. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred God of life. And if you all join us in singing hymn number 38, Morning is Better. And after the hymn wraps up, any children who'd like to join me in the audience space can walk me to Evelyn's.
There was no seats in
share with you this morning. First of all, it's good to see you. I had a lovely week. I thank you for, and the UUA for the study time that ministers get. Because I had a week of just to be able to do that and to catch up. And this sermon, this talk today is a result of that time. I want to share with you a truncated version of a poem by Richard Gilbert called The Earth Speaks. We gather as dwellers on the earth, wondering at the meaning of our brief sojourn. What can it mean that we live here on this planet amidst star, cloud, rain, and wind, heat and cold, and more importantly, life and death? Is there some transcendent meaning in it all, or is our journey only what we make it mean? After all, the winds blow, the sun warms, the moon shines, the rain nourishes, and the earth turns, and we live. What more can we ask? What more can we demand? What more can we want? We are flung through space by mystic forces whose sources we can never really know. We careen through time and space on an adventure with cosmic consequences. We dwell upon an earth that is eloquent in its silence. And when it's all said and done, that's enough. All right, it's longer, but you know how I do. So, would you do the honors?
Hello, hello. It's second Sunday, and this is when we have special music. We have a really special trio today. Rochelle, Broome, Debbie Evenchik, and Spence Foscue came together as Encore a year ago, right here at the UUCSB. After listening to Deb and Roe perform at a second Sunday service, Spence shared a CD with them of past compilations he had done with other musicians. The three immediately recognized their common love of the blues, jazz, and folk music, and decided to join forces creating music that folks like to listen to as well as sing along. So without further ado, here is Encore.
Most of us are people of a certain age in this audience. And,
Youngsters.
and we love music, and so it's always wonderful for us to be able to share music that people know and people feel like singing along to. So I hope you'll love this beautiful song from Carole King, Way Over Yonder.
we give them another hand? Okay, so this is the time in the service when we invite you to come up, thank you, to share a joy, a concern, a sorrow. Diane, the fire keeper, and the mic is on and it is yours.
Hello, I'm Linda Metzner, and I have two, mixed joys and concerns. I wanted to thank Barb Rogers. I don't think she's here, but she's been editing the tidings for about 5 years, and she no longer can do it. So this is a monthly email newsletter, so if you would like to take over, it's open right now. Tidings, so I want to thank her for that. And then in next Saturday, I'm really involved with a concert that's going to be at the United Church of Christ, Land of Sky, in down near Asheville. The concert's called Join Us for Justice. And it's a benefit for many young people, 16, who are giving food and supplies to homeless people in Christmas of 21. And the police came through with a sweep and charged them with felony littering. So they're facing a felony charge, and this concert is trying to help them with their expenses. I'm really involved with it because my women's choir is singing. I'm playing for playback theater, and I'm playing for a soloist, Kim Hughes. So please come. I've got plenty of notices about it. March 18th at 3 o'clock. So it's also my birthday. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Marty Saltzman, and I have a big candle of joy. My 14-year-old granddaughter, Iris, was accepted into the New York City High School of Art and Design, which is no small task to get into. She had 2 interviews and had to present a portfolio. And believe me, this family needed some wonderful news, so we are so happy.
Hi, I'm Anna Marcel de Amanis, and the joy that I have is kind of all of our joy, really. And I'm supposed to do this in a couple of weeks, but to say what's so great about being here. But I'll tell you, this weekend, Ray and I, because we gave an auction item, and because we've been members of RE, we spent Friday evening with 2 amazing human beings, Isaac and Linus and Wright Hicks. And if you don't know the young people in our congregation, you just need to do it, because they're really incredible kids. And it was our joy, and it was because we go to church here and we said, we'll do child care if somebody bids on us. And Josh and Susan bid on us. And we knew the kids from RE, so they weren't shy about going with us. So that's our joy.
I'm Jim Grillen, and I have a joy on a dreary March day. What could be more boring than doing taxes 4 days a week for AARP and Fiscal Legal? But this week, not only did we help one Afghan family, it wasn't ours, but it was another Afghan family, get more than $11,000 in refunds. We also helped a single woman with 8 children get $41,000 in refunds across 2 years. So we are doing good.
Hi, I'm Karen Steinhaus, and I have a candle of joy, or
and a request. I'll put the request up first. A hematoma mysteriously formed in the palm of my hand last Friday, a week ago, and I ended up with emergency surgery. And I would just love it if you would just beam healing energy, because it is recuperating, but it's too slow for me. And I am so grateful for the support I've received from the congregation, from the community as a whole, because I've gotten rides and people bringing me food, and it's been just astonishing to feel supported. And anyway, thank you.
Hey, I'm Bill. When I was very young, I looked out my apartment window and an old man walked down a hill every day on his way to town. And on the side of the path, it was a dirt path, there was a very large eucalyptus tree. And this is about sentient beings, and I'm looking forward to having Michael share more of this with us. But I learned something very valuable then that sticks to me all my life. When he walked by that tree, he would stop. He was so old he could barely walk. And he would stop by that tree, and he would touch it first, and then he would look at it, and then he would talk to it. And sometimes he would embrace it and hold his cheek up against the tree and pat it. You know, I thought, what kind of a conversation are they having? My whole point is there anything on earth that isn't conscious? And if we're aware enough, can we relate to that? And I was very, very impressed. I now fall in love with certain trees quite regularly.
Well, we can all go now because that was my son.
Good morning. I'm Susan Landis. I have two joys of concerns that are directly connected to each other. One, thank you for the wishes for my mom. Unfortunately, she went back in the hospital this week, but things are going in the right direction. And thank you for all the healthcare providers. They even got a sitter for her 24 hours a day to kind of calm her down. And the second joy is today is my birthday. So without my mom, I wouldn't be here. And so I'm happy to celebrate 62 years.
Happy birthday.
Hi, so my name is Elizabeth Wallace, and I have a couple of joys. One is to be back after having COVID and the long recovery period following. And to that note, I always say I live alone, which is really not true. I live with two wonderful cats, our talk today, who have been, floating in happiness that I was homesick for so long. And lying on the couch with the softest blanket in the house, and they're in recovery now that I go out of the house. So thank you. So good to be back to this wonderful group.
I'm really serious. That was the sermon. Anyway, very good. I hope I'm not, well, I may be preaching to the choir, but it's okay. Thank you, Diane. For those of you, for whatever reason, didn't want to come up, we keep you in our hearts and minds and in our thoughts and prayers. I want to share a meditation with you at this time, and then we will have a time of quiet. For me personally, it was a long week because a lot of friends and colleagues were having a rough week, and so they had called me and I needed to lend an ear or whatever else I had at the time. So I want to share this meditation called "The Days Are So Full, but They Are a Mixed Blessing." And afterwards, we'll have our time of quiet. Let us relax in the warm embrace of this community. let us slow our lives down to a more human pace. We come into this place of worship yearning to alter the sometimes hectic nature of our days. Here we confess we often choose to do too much in too little time. In this quiet space, we acknowledge that our days are too full. Here we are free to ask questions, to question even ourselves. We wonder why we have so overburdened our bodies and our spirits, overcommitted ourselves, not disciplined our energies or rationed our strength. It is not sometimes because there is so much to interest us, so much fascination in the world, so many intriguing people, so many compelling questions, so much that is worthy of our attention. Our days are so full of challenge and temptation, so full of wonder and work, so full of questions without answers, and answers without questions. In the blessed peace of this place and people, may we learn to focus our energies on the consequential and to learn to ignore the trivial, that we may enjoy the fullness of our days. And now, while our minds are one for this brief moment in time, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. The words of William James: the purpose of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And in that spirit, we will now collect this morning's offering.
Please feel free to sing along on this one. Another wonderful musician who only gets better with time, like fine wine, James Taylor. So, since we're being showered with wonderful life-giving water today, we thought we'd remind ourselves that we need to shower. You can play the game, you can act out the part, though you know it wasn't written for you. But tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool? One thing can lead to another, it doesn't take any sacrifice. Oh, father and mother and sister and brother, it feels nice, don't think twice, just shower the peace. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. I need y'all to help me. I need you to keep going. You know the words. People you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. They say it's better to like people you love with love. They say the rain was wrong. Oh, it's just like the pouring rain. Make it rain. Show them the way that you feel. Make it rain. Shower the people you love, love, love. Sunshine the way that you feel. Make it rain, love, 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 love. Sunshine the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if we only will. Thank you for the help.
You know, listening to the joys and concerns, thank you, and thank you. Deeply appreciated. Listening to folk, I don't want to say testify, that's not it, but share their joys and concerns. You know, it reminds me of what Plato said several thousand years ago, that all learning is remembering. And so, you know, you know the stuff that I talk about. My job is just to help you remember it. So this is what it is. I want to talk about sentience, and sentience is the capacity to experience feelings and sensations as distinguished from perception and thought. The word originated by philosophers in the 1630s, actually. And in modern Western philosophy, sentience is the ability to express sensation. So, but we still have a problem in dealing with this. Oh, wait a minute, before we get heavy, I got some really bad jokes. You know, I gotta loosen you up. Now people have been complaining. I got emails from a couple people saying, we need more jokes. I don't take it personally. So I got two. The first one is George Carlin. The other one, I don't know. But I never thought about this, but he says, isn't it a bit unnerving that doctors call what they do practice? I never thought of that. I've seen more doctors but I like this one. This is from a woman by the name of Jean Carroll. She says, the thing that attracted her most to her husband, which I thought was interesting, was his pride. She says, I'll never forget the first time I saw him standing up on a hill, his hair just blowing in the wind, and he too proud to run and get it. I understand that kind of pride. So anyway, and I'll come up with some really bad ones as we go along, as you know. Maybe for these two, I'll have some really bad jokes. You've heard me on occasion refer to the animal kingdom as well as human beings as sentient beings. And you've heard this before. Buddhism talks about this. The Dali Lama and the philosophy of Buddhism talks about showing kindness to creation and sentient life. Native Americans refer to nature in different ways. I mean, the Cherokee will do it different than the Lakota, but basically they refer to nature and its inhabitants at times as different tribes or nations. You've heard this, the bird nation or tribe, the winged tribe or nation. The Dene talk about extraterrestrial life. They refer to people belonging to the star nations or star people. For me, the reason is obvious because it shows a connection with all that is, in the hopes that perhaps if we saw each other as connected to one another, as other nations or tribes or even people, that perhaps we would treat each other better. Chief Seattle of the Duwamish Nation reminds us that all things share the same breath. The beast, the tree, the human being. The air shares its spirit with all the life that it supports. And so, in the mornings, have you ever awakened to the song of birds singing in the morning? Of course you have. They're greeting the sun. They communicate about mating, about territory, about food, just as we do with our language and technology. Again, the Dene, or we call them the Navajo, they speak of all life holding the Nichi Dien, roughly translated in English as the holy wind, the breath of life that imbues everything with spirit. The Jewish religion speaks of the Ruach Yahweh, the breath of Yahweh, which gives life. And so as human beings started to evolve on the planet, over time, early intuitions came to light about a shared common source of life that developed, philosophically speaking. And so the view is that sentience occurs throughout all levels of the universe, all levels. The name for this is called panpsychism. And it comes from the Greek words pan, meaning all, and psyche, meaning breath, spirit, or soul, reminiscent of what I just mentioned, the Navajo and the Hebrew ideas. And so life thrives in this oxygen-rich atmosphere through what? Through breathing, giving rise to the ideas of one source, one creator, not a trinity. If you believe in a trinity, fine, but there's one source. All beings share in this universal breath and sentience of the creator. Now, contemporary Western philosophy and science rejected this view until recently. According to scientific materialism, sentience emerges from a complex brain which is supposedly rare in the universe. This creates a gap, though, this kind of thinking between human beings and everything else. And so it perpetuates this vicious cycle of life-denying ecological and sociological practices. Human exceptionalism, the ideas that we are special, makes sacred relationships with the natural world impossible, leading to the type of world we live in now. Much of our science fiction is written about the desacralization and disenchantment with our world. Dystopian novels are written about the worst case scenarios possible. And so our visions of the future are pretty bleak. And it seems almost impossible to speculate about a different possible scenario. So when I was researching this talk, there was a guy, his name was, he's a spiritual teacher by the name of Thomas One Wolf. He says that humans have lost many powers through this evolution, I'm using the word loosely, that non-human animals have. In other words, we had some of those powers. Some of us still do. We call it psychic phenomena or telepathy or what have you. But most of us have lost those powers because we just stopped believing that, we got really left brain and got real, that we were all that as humans. For instance, eagles can see a mouse from miles away. Elk can hear the snap of a tiny twig in the distance. Wolves, and I'm sure it's not only wolves, but they can smell what you're feeling. That's why we seek their guidance and respect, he says. He said our indigenous ancestors knew that human intelligence has its limitations, and that tuning into the intelligence everywhere is crucial to the flourishing of all sentient beings, including us. Their philosophy of life, I'm talking about indigenous people, embraced asking questions of other creatures for guidance and wisdom through what? Through connection. In order for us to survive, and I was thinking, I don't know, maybe it's just human to think that we have more time than we really do. But things can get apocalyptic really quickly now with what's going on with nature and what's going on over in Ukraine. I mean, it can get hairy very quickly. And I subscribe personally to the belief that Earth is a schoolhouse and that we are souls in a human body experiencing what it is to be human and to learn to love. That resonates with me, but I gotta tell you, baby, school is out. You know, school is out. Now it's time to kind of be practicing what we say we're learning. And time is short. And so what I'm talking about today is to survive, we need to compassionately and respectfully be curious about the knowledge systems of other life forms, whether they be on other planets or, but charity starts where? Right here at home. Eastern philosophy and spirituality avoided the Western Platonic dualism by adopting other forms of idealism, the belief that ultimate reality consists in pure consciousness. This is what quantum physics and quantum theory is telling us. For example, Shinto, the indigenous spirituality of Japan dating from the 6th century BCE, they held a panpsychic's view that all things in nature are imbued with something they call kami, K-A-M-I, divine beings or spiritual essence. The Navajo perspectives recognize the Dene, or holy people, that even the stones have a consciousness. Now, I'm not saying that you gotta be like the Jainists and you gotta, I don't wanna sweep or step up. I'm not saying you gotta do that. I mean, I've killed probably more bugs coming in here today than many of you out there, but mostly unconscious. And sometimes I will try to get them out of my house. And sometimes I don't have the patience. Okay, you come back, that's it. Don't you judge me. But sometimes I run, I get a little glass and get them out and that kind of thing. But my point, that's, to me, that's extreme. I'm not a Jainist. But they recognize that natural elements and phenomena as divine beings, rain, thunder, lightning, and sun, they're all personified or sanctified. And so they invite respect for nature's omniscient and omnipresent intelligence. Many Aboriginal cultures consider stones not as clumps of dead matter, but as stone people. Crystals, for instance, are said, now this is data for this, they have a consciousness. They have a consciousness to them. When Jesus goes into Jerusalem and the Pharisees and the Sadducees are saying, you need to tell your friends here to dial this back. And this is he says, if they didn't yell and sing Hosanna, the very stones would cry out. Many Aboriginal cultures talk about the stone people because they have a conscience. Trees not just a place where you can sit your butt under there and get some shade and lumber, but as tree people. Ants, not as destructive insects, but as ant people. Our ancestors acknowledged the essential power intrinsic to all forms of nature. Rather than simply anthropomorphizing, this denotes a deep respect for the personhood of all creatures. Non-human behavior might teach us more about our own. Calling other animals people also acknowledges the possibility that they possess abilities that we lack. Now, unless you see auras, and I know some of you do, you know I do, but mostly it's hard to grasp that. Can you see in the ultraviolet range? Can we smell each other's feelings? Can we navigate by magnet reception? That's why I needed a week off to study some of this. This means a sense that allows an organism to detect the Earth's magnetic field. Can we echo-collate? This is a psychological process for locating distant or invisible objects. Like if you're an animal and you're hungry, you can feel the sound waves reflected back to the object. This is what bats do. Perhaps these amazing people, this is all I'm saying, they have something to teach us. As we awaken from this Cartesian nap, this Newtonian nap that we've been taking, thanks to quantum theory, we may expand our senses to listen more deeply to more than the human world. Thomas One-Wolf calls this listening with the heart's ears. Earth scholar and theologian Thomas Berry notes that we humans have stopped listening. We stopped conversing with the greater world. He says we talk only to ourselves. We don't talk to the rivers, to the lakes, to the streams. We don't listen to the trees, the wind, or the stars. The great conversation continues all around us and within us, but we're oblivious to the rhythm of this conversation. So we're always out of tune with life. We're always out of step. Listening can help heal our world from the inside. Only recently has the West begun to realize this. As early as July 2012, a group of the world's leading scientists and philosophers, including the late Stephen Hawking, they signed something called the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness. See, I love this stuff, man, because if we're going to survive, we got to change the way we think. We got to fake it till we make it. It states the following, and I quote, "The absence of a neocortex does not appear to preclude an organism from experiencing affective states. Convergent evidence indicates animals have the neuroanatomical, neurochemical, and neurophysiological substrates." What that means, there's a layer, a substance or layer there in the consciousness that states, along with the capacity to exhibit intentional behavior. Consequently, the weight of evidence indicates that humans are not unique in possessing the neurological substrates that generate consciousness. That's why we don't want to talk about extraterrestrial life, because see, it's all about us. Are you going to tell me that there are UAPs in our skies and that they have civilizations that are so much more advanced? That's not something you, Exxon doesn't want to hear that, because what are we going to do about gas? These people are coming here with using 0-point energy. Wall Street certainly doesn't want to hear about it. Non-human animals, including all mammals and birds and many other creatures, including the octopus, also possess these neurological substrates. End of quote. The Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness was proclaimed in Cambridge at the Francis Crick Memorial Conference in Human and Non-Human Animals. And if you don't know, Francis Crick was the one who said that all of this started here from extraterrestrial life. Now, he's not talking about a gray or Palladian coming here, but I'll get to that in a minute. And he doesn't rule that out. This declaration stands in sharp contrast to the Cartesian delusion that non-human animals are simply mechanisms without feelings or emotions. Descartes was so sure of this that he justified experimentation of live animals, attributing their screams to nothing more than mechanical reaction, like parts of a machine creaking and screeching. As a matter of fact, Charles Darwin, the father of evolutionary theory, would later revile Descartes for this legacy of cruelty. Descartes' influence on Western philosophy created horrific research practices, and they have benefited humans. But awakening from this Cartesian sleep reveals to us that many creatures possess culture, language, the ability to create, to love, and to mourn. As long as they don't fly over our airspace. Or over our nuclear missile silos. Then it gets a little dicey. As we become more acutely aware of non-human sentience, our methods with dealing with non-human intelligences will have to change. This is what it means to transform and to evolve. This is what it means to grow up as a species. Many ancient peoples felt that non-human intelligence surpassed human intelligence. Raptors can see much farther than humans, and the olfactory sense of canines reveals information about the world that we cannot even begin to fathom. Indigenous peoples respect the superior senses of other beings and spend time studying their unique gifts. Viking myths, along with African Aboriginal peoples, along with native peoples, these creation stories portray ravens and crows as exceedingly clever tricksters who symbolize ingenuity and connection between the worlds. Scientists, for their part, have recently discovered that crows and ravens have enlarged forebrains and intricate neural networks, making them capable of complex logic, emotions, and play. In ancient Greece, dolphins were considered sacred. And by law, dolphins had the same rights as humans. I didn't know that. I didn't learn that in school. Killing a dolphin was a capital offense. Dolphins show up in many mythologies around the world as beings with superior intelligence and telepathic capabilities. Aside from whales and octopuses, they are the closest thing to extraterrestrial life that we have on this planet up to now. Aboriginal people in northern Australia were thought to possess telepathic communications with dolphins. So, a group called the Helsinki Group, founded in 2010, released the Declaration of Rights for Whales and Dolphins. Now, if you follow foreign policy and stuff, maybe you don't. I love geopolitical stuff. India, which seems to be going backwards as far as democracy goes, they had the good sense to announce that dolphins should be considered non-human persons. And they are banned from use in their theme parks. Buddha came from India, so maybe they can still pull it together. They do have some brilliance in their history, But octopuses have made the news as possible alien creatures who made it to Earth through panspermia. Panspermia is the theory that life on Earth, this is what Crick was saying, or at least some of it, was essentially transplanted here through microbe-bearing asteroids, comets, and meteors. That's extraterrestrial life. Now, I don't know enough about the theory yet, but it's fascinating what he's talking about. And he won a Nobel Prize for this, I think back in the 50s, What is known is that studies show that the octopus has so-called alien DNA, meaning it is like any other on Earth. Studies show that they have large and complex nervous systems. They can camouflage themselves instantly when they need to, and they possess a large brain that distributes their thinking into their little arms, the tentacles. In other words, their arms literally have minds of their own. Studies show them to be curious, playful, creative, and clever. And you want to hope you don't wind up with them in your tuna fish cans. Pieces up. So whether it's a person, a monkey, a bird, a turtle, even an octopus or a clam, the physiological changes that accompany our deepest felt emotions are all the same. Isn't that fascinating? Indigenous people have always respected this intelligence. We're talking about plants. You've read the book, The Secret Life of Plants. They hold spirit wisdom. Humans can access this in altered states of consciousness for medicinal purposes and knowledge. Plants are known for their life-giving qualities, and plants also serve as teachers and guides. They have been for me. Western science rejects any notion of plant intelligence and views our photosynthesizing kin merely as a means to an end for sources for food and pharmaceuticals. But that view is changing as well. And so here we are in 2023. Life is going at a breakneck speed. Our government is talking about off-world intelligences. A rock may hit us and end it all. We've got, we've got wars and rumors of wars, but we've got this change of consciousness going on. Some call it the age of Aquarius. That doesn't mean we won't blow ourselves up, but we can make a choice. Competition can go out the window. Maybe we can cooperate more. We can make a choice. Prophecies don't have to come true. A paradigm shift is occurring, and there's bound to be pushback. But our place in the universe is being redefined, and it scares people. We know that plants communicate with one another through intricate webs of electrochemical signals, just as animals do with their nervous system. In other words, plants have brains and a nervous system as well. We're not special. We're unique, but we're not special. Human beings are not special. Rather, every species and every individual in that species is a unique personality and a voice in the great conversation called life. This is what it means to be sentient, my friends. This is what our seventh principle, when we say we affirm and respect the interdependent web of existence, which we are all a part. Interdependent meaning we're all connected to everything. Drawn from direct experience of the transcending mystery and wonder. This is our principle, I'm quoting here. Affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and oneness to the forces which create and uphold life. So, every being has an instrument to play if we listen. And if we listen deeply, we just may come to understand what part we are to play and how better to what? Musicians here, to improvise together. This is life. Maybe we'll treat ourselves and the planet differently. So, Itakayue Oyasin, to all my relations. This is a Lakota phrase. You've heard it. Custer couldn't understand it. This is the all-encompassing idea of inclusiveness, and that all life and all of life is sacred. Amen. Rochelle and blessing. Closing hymn this morning. Come thou fount of every blessing, let us count our blessings So let's give the maestro and Encore a hand. Give yourselves a hand for staying here 10 minutes over. And listening to whatever I was doing. Thank you. And now, may we have faith in life to do wise planting and the generations, so that the generations to come after us may reap even more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the golden dreams of human kinship and justice. This we ask, that the fields of promise become fields of reality. See you next time.